Hi there. Welcome to the E4 proofing video, training video number 2 about getting your assignments. Now we went into some detail in the previous video about just the introduction to E4 proofing, about how it's the central division of the 3 divisions, file acquisition, proofing, and then the tagging division. Now there are a few things in here that will be a recap of what we've done before, but to a greater extent what you're going to actually be doing in this particular one is you're going to be going into the details of how to get your assignments. Now, just as a reminder, there's something at the very top. Proofreading is a skill that calls for both speed and accuracy besides an eye for detail. Keep that in mind as you go along. Now, step 1, the phone meeting with the supervisor. Now, this can be either phone or in-person meeting with the supervisor. Your supervisor is going to be the head of proofreading. Okay, so you're going to do a phone or in-person meeting with the supervisor, head of proofreading. This is where you actually receive your assignments. Now, if you're in the same office as the head of proofing, obviously you don't have to do that. But most of the time what you're going to do is you're going to have a phone meeting with the head proofer, and the proofing manager, one or the other, and you're going to actually receive your assignment. So they'll say, we're going to be working on the Works of the Puritans Volume 1. That will be your assignment. And maybe specific documents within that. You'll have to listen carefully. You need to take notes. Check the production cues before and after the meeting to see if there's anything that has been newly assigned to you. Let's check this real quick. So Control-click on this. This is a spreadsheet that you're going to need to be familiar with. Alright, so when you're in the proofing tab down here, there may be a time when you will look here and you will see either the priority number. Marlene will, or the head of proofing will point that out, and then there may be over here, there may be a name that has been assigned. So make sure that you check that at certain times to make sure that you don't have other assignments that have not been assigned in that specific phone call. So a phone meeting or an in-person meeting with the supervisor ahead of proofing. Step 2 is look in the collection tracker for information about your assigned set. You don't want to go in blind. Ask your supervisor for any information they have, any error reports or anything like that, because normally what will happen is the head proofer will go through all of the works, do a skimming proofread, so she or he will be aware of any of those sorts of issues before it actually gets passed on to you. So make sure that you have any information, but it is your responsibility to ask. Another place you can go for more information about specific works is the collection tracker. Now let's look at this whole thing. Over here is the set name, the file location status. That's not for you to change. You probably won't be able to change this spreadsheet, but just in case you can, make sure that you're not changing columns that you're not supposed to. The number of works in the set, the original titles of those works. That may be confusing. You may want to check original title as well as the result title, because that might actually affect the way that you proofread it. And then go all the way over here. You want author, the source may be necessary, special notes, editorial instructions, all of those. You need to be familiar with the works in the set that you're working with, okay? So just go through and make sure that you understand, okay, this is the whole set, Antonicene Fathers, here are all of the works within it. Here's what we're doing with them, so you kind of get an idea of what you're working with. So that's the collection tracker. The material to be proofed needs to be assigned after a meeting with a supervisor concerned. Normally the list of works that need proofing and the order in which they need to be done are already decided by the file acquisition team. So the number 1 work needs to be proofed first. It needs to go down in that way because they're usually in priority order. We need to know of any major problems in the priority 1 documents before we know them in the end documents. Any change in that order will be confirmed by the supervisor. Each set will contain several books. There will be 2 versions of each book. Now this is where the collection tracker comes in very handy, because one of the things that you need to be familiar with is this portion right over here. So we have file location status. And the only, like I said, there are 2 copies of each book, usually from different sources. This source listed is the primary source. So this is the one that actually needs to be proofread. If you're doing any changes, only the book from this source, which will be contained in the title, let me show you here, of the files sent to you. Alright, let's look here. You see in the title of this file, you see CCEL. So if this particular one, The Life of Dr. Owen, was partially what we were looking for, we would look all the way over to the source on the collection tracker to make sure that the CCEL title was the one that we were using. Remember, there will be 2 Life of Dr. Owens. There will be a CCEL one and usually one from a different source like archive or something like that. So be careful which one you're actually proofreading, because if you go through and you proofread the secondary file, it's not going to be any good. You have to make sure that you're proofreading the primary file, the one that is listed on the collection tracker. Step 3, download the assigned files from Dropbox. Let's go to Dropbox real quick. And I will show you how to download. It's very, very simple. In the future, you're going to be able to go to General Video number 3 for the Dropbox instructions. But for now, let me just show you quickly. Again, this is only after you have received information from your supervisor. They will either send you the files in an email, or you will be able to go here with their permission and download the files that you need. So here's your Dropbox account. This is probably not the one that you're going to be using, but we're going to go to, they're all set up the same sort of way. And let's say we were just downloading something from the Church Fathers, or better yet, let's go back and we'll go to the hymns in their history. Alright, let's say we wanted to download this one. We would just click on it, and it should start to download automatically, or it'll go to this page if it was acquired in plain text. And there it is, hymns in their history. Now another way to do it, if you want to actually download it to your computer, which is what you're going to need to be doing in order to run a file compare, you would go over here, click on the down, and then go to download file. Make sure you push save, and then it will begin to download. It will also ask you where you want to put it. Make sure that you put it in a place in its own folder. So let's say this is E4 files, we'll say. And then we'll save it there. Now I'm just going to cancel this because I don't need to actually download this file, but like I said, it's very simple. Make sure that you get the downloading and the information about actually signing into the specific Dropbox from your supervisor. So that is your first step, getting your assignments, phone meeting or in-person meeting with your supervisor, head of proofing. You can look at the production cues to make sure that there's nothing that is specifically assigned to you when you weren't, not in an in-person or phone meeting, but at other times. Step 2, look in the collection tracker for information about your assigned set, specifically looking at that source column and making sure that any changes that you make are made to the primary file. And step 3, download the assigned file from the Dropbox. Now when you get this information from step 2, it would be very useful to write down, so the name of the book and then the source file next to it, so that when you do download that you make a note of which one is which.